Kurt says, "Hi, Austin and Robert. I started listening to your podcast a few months ago, and I am loving it. My wife and I are 53 years old with an annual income of $215,000. I have a 401k with $280,000 inside of it. My wife has one at $175,000. We also have a few annuities with total values of around $200,000. I started playing around with the ETFs you all recommended with about $50,000 in a bridge account, and I'm loving the returns I've seen so far. I also have a pension when I retire, which will be about $3,500 a month. We're currently investing 19% of our salaries each into our 401ks using the standard target date funds of 2035. We have 3 years left on a HELOC at $2,600 a month, but other than that, we have no other loans. We both want to retire at 59 and a half years old. My question is, should we reduce our annual 401k contributions to the minimum 6% to get the match, and then put the other 13% into a bridge account, or do we just ride it out for a few more years? I wish I would have found you guys earlier. Thanks so much for the help." Robert, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And based on the one statement that we both want to retire at 59 and a half, I think it could go both ways, in my opinion. You could do the bridge account and you'd have 6.5 years to invest in it and have full autonomy in it. But you could also just keep riding out what you have if they're performing well enough, or make changes in the current portfolio depending on what you have for options to be able to achieve the same thing, because obviously with the 401ks, you'll be able to access that money at 59 and a half as well. So I think this is a tough one where it could go both ways. If we have a really good 6.5 years in the economy moving forward and you invested correctly, I think your gains would surpass what would happen in the 401k. So if it's me with my risk tolerance, I'd do the bridge account. But in a normal situation where people want safety and they don't care about the autonomy, you could also leave it and do just fine.
So to kind of walk through some math here, you're right, $215,000 salary. You said you're investing 19% into your 401ks every year, so you're looking at about $41,000 a year. If you continue to do that for the next, let's call it 7 years here, you're looking at a total contribution amount of about $286,000. You then add to that the $280,000 you already have invested in yours and the $175,000 invested in your wife's. That is $740,000 in these accounts, but that doesn't account for any growth. We all know the S&P 500 doubles every 7 years. You're in a target date fund, so you might not experience that same performance. So let's just say instead of 100% return over the next 6.5, 7 years, you guys experience a 65 or 70% return. So assuming a 65% return over the next 7.5 years, which I think is pretty reasonable, you're looking at about $1.2 million combined inside of your 401ks that I think you guys could totally live off of. Now, assuming you pay off this HELOC, which it said you would, and you have no other debt, you all are sitting pretty. Now, to Robert's point, though, about sort of this autonomy, right? That's the only differentiator that we're talking about here. Being able to then say, instead of contributing this $40,000 to my 401ks that are parked in these target date funds, do I want to take, let's call $30,000 of that every year and park it into a bridge account that I can then invest into maybe the S&P 500 directly, or, NASDAQ or things like that? Considering your age, I would imagine you probably don't want to be too aggressive, right? So I understand why you have these target date funds, but on the flip side of that, you are only 53, and I'd imagine you're going to live at least for another 30 years till 83 years old. Back to Charles' question about sort of this 30-year time horizon, right? That's a long time where you could be aggressive and grow your money. So to me, I'm right on the fence of both. If you want to have that bridge account and you want to be aggressive with this money and you have a longer term time horizon of, let's call it 7, 10, 15, 20 years inside of that to let the money grow, be my guest. But on the other side of that, if you want to lean more towards security, if you want to lean more toward predictability and having a little bit more of the fixed income figured out, putting this money in these 2035 target date funds are going to do that for you automatically, leaving you again with this, let's call it $1.2 million at 59 and a half years old. Now, the real question is, how do you continue to invest that money once you're in retirement? Robert and I highly recommend you getting with a very smart fiduciary investment advisor that can help you sort of weigh those risk tolerances and figure out what those time timelines look like, your monthly needs for income. You mentioned you have this pension at $3,500 a month. So there's a lot of things to consider here. But the last thing I want to mention, and it's something that's very, very important, is you guys are doing great. You're going to have over $1 million invested in retirement accounts by the time you're 59 and a half. You got this awesome pension waiting on you, no debt, no mortgage, no nothing. You guys are going to be enjoying your retirement to the fullest, and we're super, super excited for you.
I love it. And yes, this is just one of those questions where it can go both ways. You have a lot of options, and we just like that you're thinking through what all of those options are so you can maximize your retirement accounts in the next 6.5 years. So I like it.